Services Coordinator for the ALS Association Oregon Southwest Washington chapter. I am here in Bend, and I have with me today Dale Meador. Dale is a wonderful person who lives in Medford. It lives with ALS. Dale, thank you for being here today.
It's my pleasure, Christina. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Well, as people may or may not know, our chapter has a variety of support groups. We have general support groups, caregiver support groups. We have support groups for people who have frontotemporal dementia. We have support groups for younger people living with ALS. And Dale sometimes attends our support groups. Dale, I have a few questions for you today. First of all, would you mind telling us about yourself and your family?
Yeah, I've been married to Nancy since when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And we have 3 kids and 6 grandchildren, including a little girl we just welcomed 2 weeks ago.
Yay.
So we're very blessed.
Oh, so special. Dale, when were you diagnosed with ALS?
I was diagnosed 2 years ago this month. Mm-hmm. I had noticed symptoms sometime before that, but didn't connect them to ALS for quite some time. So it's been 2 years, and as your viewers probably know, ALS affects different people different ways. In my case, it has principally affected my voice and my breathing. Speaking and breathing have been 2 of my favorite things these 66 years. And it's kind of funny because speaking was my livelihood. I'm a pastor. So it's kind of funny to me that this has been my challenge.
And you've attended a few support groups. Can you tell me what it's like to be at a support group meeting?
All of our support groups over the last 2 years have been via Zoom. So we log in, and our ALS host, generally kicks things off with a little bit of get acquainted time. There's often a person who's newly joining the group. So we'll take a few minutes just to get acquainted, brief introductions, and then we'll launch into any one of a myriad of subjects. You know, when you share something like an ALS diagnosis in common, you have a lot to talk about. Stuff that nobody else, other people may empathize certainly, but they're walking a different road. So when you share that in common, boy, it's so great to connect with other people who automatically know much of what you're going through, even though, as I say, your disease may be taking different routes. So we'll get off on all kinds of things. We'll usually have some laughs, catching up on family and what we've been up to, but then we'll often get down to nitty gritty, like things, tips and tricks, pieces of hardware that some of our friends have found very useful. Hey, I use this, really have found this helpful. Or I found this therapist who was especially knowledgeable in this area or with that. So we have so much to share that typically there are no lulls in the conversation. In fact, a few times our host has had to rein us in a little bit. That's never been my fault. Always
Never.
Other people, not me. But no, it's a great time because where else would you routinely get together with other ALS patients and have time to talk things over, share worlds, share hearts. It's a very special time.
Yeah, you're so right. And you mentioned, we've had virtual support groups for the last couple of years, and now we're trying to go back into in-person support groups. And, like I have a hybrid sort of model where I do some virtual and some in person. So
Great.
have you been able to attend an in-person support group, or has it been mostly virtual?
We, to my knowledge, timing my diagnosis way I have, none have been offered yet.
Yeah.
But we have a event coming up very soon. There's a picnic, and I've been fortunate enough to connect with some of our friends in person in other ways. As I say, one of the important things that can happen out of the support group is networking. One of my friends had a source for the kind of food that I've been taking through my tube, which has been very helpful. So we have shared that, and that's been a tremendous help to us. So I get to see them outside the meetings from time to time.
Oh, that's so special. And what else you kind of talked about what you gain, but the camaraderie and networking and resources, learning about different resources.
I could speak too for my wife
Yeah.
and say that these meetings, especially for caregivers, can be very helpful because I imagine it could be easy to feel very alone as it changes your whole life and that of those closest to you. It would be very easy to feel adrift, alone, not to know where to find answers to your questions.
Yeah.
This is what the ALS Association has been to us. From the first week, the representative came out. She had the answers to our questions. She had the connections. I mean, it was wonderful. And with the caregiver support group, my wife has continued to be able to make connections like that with other people going through very, very similar circumstances.
Oh, good. Well, I'm so glad to hear that. And what would you tell a person with ALS to encourage them to attend? What would be your advice to them?
I imagine there's two kinds of responses. Principally, there's going to be the person who is going to be very eager to make connections, touch other people, talk to other people. They're likely to jump at the chance to participate in a support group. But then there are others who may grow very discouraged, struggle with depression. This new reality, as my doctor said when he diagnosed me, I'll never forget. He said, gave me that test, and he said, we'd like to be sure because it's a hard diagnosis. Some people hear that, and I can understand how they could get very, very discouraged. And you just want to close up, shut down, draw the blinds, and stay away from people. To that person, I would say, help yourself, help the loved ones who want to help you by availing yourself of these connections with people walking the same journey who need resources, need answers, and will really benefit you and will benefit those who are caring for you and love you. Don't give in to that tendency to pull in your shell and isolate. It will only make things more difficult for you, I would think. I can't speak for everybody, but give it a try. If you're reluctant, just try it once, and I think you'll find it's a very natural, easy, and beneficial connection.
Oh, great advice. Thank you, Dale. Yeah, I would agree. I think a lot of people I've spoken with have said, it takes, up to 3 times until you kind of feel comfortable and you feel like you're part of the community. And, so it can take a few times for sure. Well, I just want to thank you, Dale, so much for being here. I really appreciate your time and your insight, your advice. If anybody is interested in seeing what support groups our chapter offers, you can go to our website, alsoregon.org/groups. But thank you for being here. Thank you, Dale.
Thank you, Christina.
Bye.